You have a version of your life that exists only in the future, a version where things are finally in order, where you have the clarity, the courage, the circumstances you have been waiting for, where you are finally ready. You have been living toward that version for a long time now, planning for it, preparing for it, promising yourself it is coming, and meanwhile quietly, without announcement, the life you are actually living continues to pass. Seneca saw this pattern everywhere he looked, in the Roman court, in his students, in himself, and he wrote about it with an urgency that still cuts through 2,000 years of distance. Dum defertur vita transcurrit. While we delay, life passes, not pauses, not waits for you, passes. This is the Stoic warning no one wants to hear, and the one that if you let it land, changes everything. Postponement does not feel like postponement. That is what makes it so dangerous. It feels like wisdom, like prudence, like responsible preparation. It feels like the right thing to do before you begin. Learn a little more, save a little more, wait until the children are older, wait until the job is more stable, until the relationship is clearer, until you feel more ready than you do today. Seneca watched this pattern consume the lives of brilliant, capable, well-intentioned people, and he named what it actually was. Not preparation, avoidance with a sophisticated disguise. He wrote, Omnia aliena sunt, tempus tantum nostrum est. Everything is foreign to us. Only time is truly ours. Not your reputation, not your possessions, not even your body. Only time. And time, unlike everything else, cannot be recovered once it is spent. You can earn back money. You can rebuild reputation. You cannot reclaim the year you spent waiting to begin. Seneca wrote one of the most uncomfortable sentences in all of philosophy. Uncomfortable because it is aimed directly at you. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. Not that life is short, that we waste it. There is a difference that should stop you. If life were simply short, that would be tragedy, something done to you. But if life is long and you are wasting it, that is a choice. One being made, in small increments, every day. Seneca continued, life is long if you know how to use it. Long, not short, if you know how to use it. The person who has not yet begun the work they know they should be doing is not a victim of time. They are the architect of its disappearance. This is not cruelty. This is the most important thing Seneca ever said, because it means the situation is not fixed. It means the choice is still available, right now, today, in this moment. The life you keep postponing has not yet been permanently lost, but it is moving in that direction. Every day you delay, the distance grows. Here is the question the Stoics would ask you directly. What exactly are you waiting for? Not rhetorically, literally. Name it. What is the specific condition that, once met, will finally allow you to begin? Most people, when they try to name it, discover something unsettling. The condition is vague, shifting, perpetually just out of reach. More money, but how much exactly? More confidence, but what would that feel like? More certainty, but about what, precisely? Marcus Aurelius wrote in the private journals he kept for no audience but himself, confine yourself to the present, not as a comfort, as a diagnosis. The person who is always waiting is never in the present. They are living in a future that does not yet exist and missing the only moment where anything can actually be done, the present. The Stoics had a name for the condition you are waiting for. They called it a false impression, a belief that feels true, that feels like wisdom but dissolves under examination. The impression that you are not ready yet, that the conditions are not right yet, that the version of yourself capable of beginning is still being assembled. Epictetus wrote, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows, and it is impossible for a man to begin what he believes he is not yet ready for." The readiness you are waiting for only arrives after you begin, never before. Marcus Aurelius returned to the same theme obsessively in his private writings, not because he was morbid, because he was honest. Think not of the amount of time you have left, but of how you are using what remains. How you are using what remains. Not what you plan to use, not what you intend to use. What you are, right now, actually doing with the time that is actively passing. He wrote, "Soon you will have forgotten everything. Soon everything will have forgotten you." This is not despair. For Marcus, it was liberation. Because if everything will be forgotten, if the stakes are ultimately that small, then the fear of beginning is revealed for what it actually is. Not caution, not wisdom. An attachment to a version of yourself that has never been tested, and therefore cannot be disproved. Safe, comfortable, entirely imaginary. Marcus had another practice, one he returned to every morning without fail. He asked himself, what if today were the last day? Not to create panic, to dissolve delay, because the man who knows his time is finite does not spend his morning deciding whether he is ready to begin. He begins. There is a cost to postponement that most people never add up. Not the obvious cost, the years lost, the opportunities missed, the psychological cost, the invisible, daily weight of the life you are not living. Seneca described it with precision. The person who postpones their real life does not simply lose the future, they corrupt the present. Because behind every moment of ordinary life, behind the meetings and the meals and the routines, there is a background awareness, quiet but constant, that this is not quite it, that the real thing has not yet started, that you are, in some fundamental way, still waiting. This awareness is not neutral. It seeps into everything, into the relationships that feel slightly provisional, the work that feels like marking time, the life that feels, despite being full of activity, somehow unlived. Jung called this the unlived life, and he considered it one of the deepest sources of human suffering. Not the life that was taken from you, the life you declined to claim. The most damaging thing, he wrote, is the unlived life of the parent. The unlived life does not stay private, it radiates outward, into the people around you, into everything you touch. A permanent reminder of what was chosen against. The Stoic response to postponement was not motivational. It was not a call to urgency or a demand for hustle. It was something quieter, more serious, more permanent, a practice of attention. Seneca called it recede in te ipse, the withdrawal into yourself, not escapism, the deliberate act of sitting with the question you have been avoiding. What is the life I am postponing? Not in vague terms, in specific, honest, uncomfortable terms. What work? What relationship? What version of yourself? Name it. Write it down if you must. Make it real enough to examine. Because a postponed life, kept vague, can be postponed indefinitely. A postponed life, made specific, becomes a choice. Either you begin, or you consciously, deliberately, with full awareness, choose not to. And conscious choice, even the choice not to begin, is more honest than endless postponement. At least it is yours. Marcus Aurelius practiced something even more direct. Do not indulge in dreams of what you have not yet got. Count the blessings you do possess and think how much you would have wanted them. Not as gratitude practice, as a correction of perspective. The person who is always living toward the future life is never fully present in the actual one. And the actual one, this one, now, imperfect and unfinished as it is the only one that exists. Here is what this video has been building toward. The life you keep postponing is not waiting patiently for you to be ready. It is not suspended in some safe holding place, preserved until you arrive. It is passing, right now, as you read this, as you breathe. Seneca's most urgent words were written near the end of his own life, knowing he would soon be ordered to die by the emperor he had served for decades. He wrote, "Vindica te tibi," reclaim yourself for yourself, not for your ambitions, not for what you owe others, for yourself, now, without waiting for permission. He did not write this from a position of comfort. He wrote it from a position of absolute clarity about what had been lost and what could still, even now, be claimed. The Stoic warning is not you are running out of time, although you are. The Stoic warning is the time you have is enough. If you stop postponing, if you stop waiting for readiness that will never arrive on its own, if you make the decision today, not tomorrow, to treat this life as the one that is actually happening, because it is, The version of yourself that is finally ready is not being assembled somewhere in the future. It is assembled in the act of beginning, in the imperfect, uncomfortable, unready first step, in the decision to stop treating your life as a rehearsal. Seneca lived this, Marcus Aurelius lived this, Epictetus lived this. None of them had ideal conditions, none of them felt fully ready. Epictetus was a slave with a broken body. Marcus was an emperor drowning in war and grief. Seneca was a man under constant threat of execution, and all three of them in their different prisons, under their different pressures, chose to live, fully, without waiting for the circumstances to improve. That is the Stoic warning: not be more productive, not stop wasting time, but something far more intimate than either of those. Your life is happening now, not later, not when you are ready, not after the next thing resolves, now. And the only question that remains, the only question that has ever mattered, is what you are going to do with it.